What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video where I use my experience in social psychology and mentalism to break down scenes from the hit series The Mentalist and tell you which ones are completely made up, which ones are real psychology techniques that you can use in your life, and in this one, I'm gonna give you a really amazing way to catch a liar in a second. Here we go.
Did you notice the badge, or should I show you again?
I'm so sorry, but I can't say if Mr. Mashburn is here or not. We're a private club, and our members treasure their privacy.
Don't worry, I'll find him.
Excuse me, sir.
Well, hello there.
So I wanted to start this video with one of my favorite scenes. This one actually makes me laugh every time I see it. And basically they're at a country club that's very exclusive and they need to find out some information about some of the members there, and the host is refusing to give them answers. So Patrick Jane, the mentalist, wants to get past him, and his plan is just to look to the side like this, curiously, and the host all of a sudden also looks to the side and Patrick just sneaks right past him. As hilarious as this scene is, it's based on a lot of research that's done on tracking where people look based on where other people are looking. So in the 60s, researchers Milgram, Bickman, and Berkowitz did a study where they had people standing outside and looking up. And they found that when it was just a few people, some passerbys would also look up to see, hey, what are you guys looking at? But they also noticed that the more they add to the group of controlled people that are looking up, the more percentage of people stopped to look up as well. And this has to do a lot with social proof. The fact that we tend to behave the way large groups of people around us behave because we just want to fit in. Although it works a lot better when it's a big group of people all looking in the same direction, it still does work pretty well if someone very confidently looks somewhere. And in magic, we call this misdirection. Consider these two coins, this silver American half dollar and this copper Mexican centavo. Now watch the difference between these two gestures. If I go to take that Mexican coin and my eyes follow this hand, I could just give it a wave like this and notice how convincing that looks. Now by the same logic, if I take the American coin and I do this and my eyes stay on the guilty hand, well now it's not very convincing if I do that. Notice how the first one looked a lot more convincing because my eyes followed where I wanted you to look. Now we're going to look at some scenes from a very iconic episode, and I'm going to use these scenes to demonstrate to you how effectively mentalists can lie to you. But before we look at them, guys, do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, turn those notifications on for more mentalism and social psychology content. So right in the beginning of this episode, there's a big explosion in a parking lot and it projects Patrick Jane across the parking lot, and when he gets up, he looks around and he says this.
I can't see. I can't see.
Patrick has lost his vision. He goes to the hospital, they put bandages on his eyes, and for the rest of the episode, he cannot see. However, despite the fact that he can't see, he still knows things that you would need to see in order to know. Let's take a look at some of the scenes of things that he somehow just knows, even if he can't see.
Oh, please don't look at each other like that.
Like what? You can't see.
I can feel your pity.
Please, would you stop?
Have a good one, Mr. Jane.
Yeah. Go ahead, talk to your boyfriend, I don't mind.
You need the rest.
I need to work.
You're blind.
It's no problem. Honestly, my other senses are heightened. They're super heightened. I'm like Daredevil. Holding something of James's would help me pick up a feel for him, get a sense of his being. Do you like horses?
We like to ride together. We were planning to take a trip up to the coast this fall.
This feels expensive.
Yes. He only wore that to business functions.
There's a jewel with an engraving on the back. What is that engraving?
It's a bull. It was a company gift from Lynch Halstead. A little too much bling for Jim's everyday taste.
Okay, so that entire episode is actually an ode to one of the biggest sections of mentalism, which is called the Blindfold Act. Now, the Blindfold Act is something where the mentalist will blindfold himself, and we do this all kinds of ways. Sometimes we put coins in our eyes with duct tape, and the duct tape goes all around, or we put blindfolds that have been examined by audience members, or I've seen people put tinfoil over their face, or like metal masks, all kinds of stuff to make sure that we cannot see, and then the mentalist proceeds to do amazing things and know things that you would need your eyes in order to know. One of my favorite modern versions of this act is by my good friend and world-class mentalist Eric Dittelman, who went on huge TV shows like Ellen and America's Got Talent, and was able to tell audience members what they drew when he absolutely could not see a thing.
Part of a face, does that make sense to you? I'm getting kind of a line here, almost as if you drew a body part.
Yes.
I'm gonna say you drew, did you draw an ear?
Yes, it's
You drew
half
an
my
ear,
head.
cool.
How do you do that?
But let's talk about how they applied this on the mentalist. I thought it was really brilliant how they logically justified this whole blindfold act by causing an accident that made him lose his vision. But every scene that I showed you, all those little things he was saying are almost line for line things that mentalists claim when they do a blindfold act. Things like, oh, I could feel your emotions, or oh, my other senses are heightened. I love that one. Or, oh, if I could just touch his things, I can get a sense of his being. But here's the catch. All those statements are just presentation. Like I've told you guys on the channel before, mentalists are very good at convincing you that we have supernatural abilities, but we don't. Everything we do is mostly trickery with a bit of psychology. So although what he's saying is correct, because we do say those things, that is never the way we're doing this. Our senses aren't heightened. We can't connect with your energies. We can't do any of that stuff. There's always a simple trick that explains how we know the things we know. However, the last scene that I showed you is very accurate, both in terms of presentation and the capacities of a mentalist, because even if he can't see, he's holding the objects of the gentleman, and you could tell that he's feeling for certain things, and he knows how to do the cold reading or how to get information based on what he's feeling. And this is absolutely something that a lot of mentalists do during the Blindfold Act when they take personal objects from audience members and tell them things about themselves. Now, this whole blindness episode ends with a really iconic scene where he's with one of his colleagues. Her hands are cuffed, so she can't move. He can't see, and they get in a car and they need to get away, so he has to be the one to drive because she can't, and this happens.
Okay, straight. No, you're gonna make right. Turn right. No, not yet. Okay, punch up, right now.
Wow, okay, so he's trying to drive, he can't see, she's sitting next to him, and he's just smashing into everything. And I think this was the writers saying like everything he said he could do, how he can like tune in to senses or his other senses are heightened, was just part of that thing he does where he embellishes things, and that at the end of the day, he actually really can't see and he can't do much without seeing. But that whole scene was a tribute to the Blindfold Drive, which is a publicity stunt that a lot of mentalists have done over the years, where they blindfold themselves and they drive a car, usually with a news reporter next to them, and they get to a certain destination that was thought of by the news reporter. But this brings up one of the most interesting questions in the entire series of The Mentalist. And this is an opportunity where I'm going to see if you guys have been listening. Because a season later, an entire season later, Patrick Jane is at a country club, the same country club we saw earlier in this video, and he purposely demonstrates a blindfold drive. And the results are extremely different than when he was actually blind in the car. Let's take a look.
Whatever you do, do not close your eyes. Okay? Okay. All right. How do I turn it on? Okay.
I'll be damned. That was fun.
Wow, what a crazy scene. But think about it. We just saw two scenes where he was doing the same thing. In both cases, he couldn't see and he was trying to drive a car. But in one case, he nails it, and in the other case, he failed miserably. Even think about what he said to the guy sitting next to him, Walter. He said, whatever you do, don't close your eyes. Well, in the first scene, his colleague didn't have her eyes closed either, so it was pretty much the same thing. But my question to you is this: why? Why is it that in one scenario he was smashing into everything in sight, and in the other scenario he's like perfectly swerving around the flowers, taking perfect curves? What makes the difference? I want to see how much you guys have been listening to what I've been saying. So in the comments, let me know why you think he really succeeded at one version of this and really failed hard at a different version. Speaking of you guys commenting stuff, in the last video I showed you guys a scene where somebody was trying to cold read Patrick Jane, and Patrick Jane interrupted him and said this.
You're addicted to control? You're terrified of confinement.
Who's my favorite Beatle? Huh?
And I asked you guys why you think that that's a really good response to somebody who's trying to do a cold read on you. Why that specific question was something that Patrick Jane knew was a great response. Well, a lot of you got it right in the comments, but there are two reasons. The first reason is he broke his flow. Often when someone's doing a cold read, they really depend on the momentum that they build. So by asking a question like that out of left field, he breaks the flow. But the second and more important reason is this. The answer to who's my favorite Beatle is a specific answer. You can't come back with something ambiguous, something based on emotion or feeling or a gray area. There's one answer to that question. So Patrick Jane knew that when somebody's trying to cold read you, if you come back and give them a question that has one factual answer, how many siblings do I have? What's my favorite animal? They will get stuck because there's no way they can answer that. Cold reads deal very much in gray areas and sort of ambiguities. So what do you do when a cold reading goes wrong? I mean, mentalists do cold readings all the time and we can't always be right. So what do we do? Well, here's a great example from Patrick Jane.
You, for example, use lemon to the point of excess. Tart, aggressive flavors, sublimated aggression toward an important figure in your life. Obviously, you're daddy's girl, so I'm gonna go with mother. No, let me correct that. Stepmother. Ludo, you were adopted, no?
No, I wasn't.
Took a shot. Moving on. You were having an affair with Jeffrey.
I love that so much. So he's doing this cold read and then he says something about the guy that is factually wrong, and just look at his energy. It doesn't bother him at all. He remains as confident and he keeps going, which is something that mentalists do very often when we're cold reading, because we know that if we get a lot of success and we completely brush off the failed statements or guesses, no one's going to remember those. They're going to remember the overall positivity of it, which is also one of the reasons why when somebody comes to you and says, oh my God, I had this psychic reading where the person just knew all these things about me, it's really hard to counter because we tend to remember the impressive success more than the little statements that didn't hit. And that brings us to our final scene where I'm about to teach you one of the most effective ways to instantly know who's lying to you. Let's take a look.
Come on, don't let your Midwestern taste buds hold you back.
Oh, Chef. What is the spice?
Spice.
No, I like a little heat, but this is overpowering.
We didn't add any heat.
That would be me. Sorry.
Fire! Fire!
The red Savina pepper. I got it from Julia's pantry. I thought it would be appropriate, and I'm just mad for heat, so obviously I was a little heavy-handed. My apologies. What's the trouble, Elijah?
I feel well, I should go.
What's the problem?
The peppers just go down well.
Pepper? What's wrong with the pepper? If you don't want to talk about it here, we can take you down to headquarters.
How long can we keep her there?
48 hours?
Oh, that's a stretch of time.
I have to leave. I have to leave right now.
No, that would be rude. I don't think so.
What is wrong with you?
We all have to go to the hospital right now.
What for?
The pepper, I think it was poison. I saw Ludo putting something into it.
I did not. How dare you?
Maybe you're just cramping a little. Just a little.
All right.
I poisoned Julia's pepper.
I don't understand. Are we poisoned?
No. I switched the peppers. Clever of me.
Wow, love that scene. It's so brilliant and so well written. So basically they know that one of these chefs that all work together poisoned one of the other chefs who was the victim of this whole episode. And to figure out who it was, they knew how it was done, but they didn't know who it was. And there's no way to find that out because they all work together. So they found the source of what was poisoned. It was a specific jar of pepper, and they put it into everybody's food. So when everybody ate it and they said, oh, we used some of that pepper, obviously the person who had poisoned it came out and said, it's poisoned. I know it's poisoned. This is one of the best books I've ever read on reading people, knowing people's intentions, knowing when someone's being dishonest with you. And you guys have been asking me a lot for book recommendations, so I will leave a link in the description to where you can get this one. But in here, he's got a really great lie detection technique called fear of folly. Here's how it works. Let's say you want to know who's responsible for something within a group of people. You know what happened, but you don't know who did it. Here's how you would deal with that. You attach an unfavorable outcome to the action of having done that, and then you just look at everyone's reaction, and it will be immediately obvious no matter how good of actors these people are. So let me give you a really good real world example. Let's say you are a teacher or a parent and you've got a bunch of kids in front of you, and you know for a fact that one of them drew with markers all over the wall, and you got to figure out who it is. So here's something you might say. You might say something like, okay, so we know that very soon we're gonna find out who did it, and I just want to tell you guys, whoever did it is going to be grounded for a week, and all the rest of you are gonna get ice cream. Now, notice what that does, whether it's true or not, and that's the beauty of this, whether it's true or not, their mind shifts into the gear of either the guilty person or the not guilty person. If I'm a kid and I was just told that whoever didn't draw on the wall is gonna get ice cream, I would immediately get excited because I'm gonna get ice cream. I didn't do it, I know I didn't do it, so I'd get excited at the thought of ice cream. But the one person who did it isn't gonna have that same excitement. So basically, that's what the technique is. You say that you're gonna find out, or you're gonna say when you find out, here's what's gonna happen to the person who did it, and here's this great thing that's gonna happen to everyone else, and anyone who didn't do it should get really excited. Even if the guilty person doesn't believe that you're gonna find out it was them, instinctively they cannot match the natural excitement level of everyone else whose mind immediately went to that reward. That's why this is a really effective lie detection technique. If you're interested in more really amazing information on lie detection and how you can know who's lying to you, I have a full video on that. I'm gonna make more, but for right now, you could find the video right here. If you just click right here, right now, or down in the description, totally your call, you can find it there or right here. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this one, and I will see you on the next one.